I have a lot of watercolor paintings to show you. And I mean, this didn't work out perfectly. I don't know about my weird snow leopard trees and stuff like that, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I mean, it's a first try. This one isn't done yet, but I'm very happy with my Oscar fish. It looks like an Oscar fish. And I haven't finished the building. I will be doing some more things with it because the next lesson DVD is a buildings and structure DVD, so I've watched through that and I'm going to try to work on the building with what I've learned from that. So we'll see how that goes. And then this one is the last lesson of the water lessons anyway, the water DVD, and I've just made it a model instead, and mine didn't turn out very well, but you know, I really like how my smoke turned out of the snacks. So, and the sky turned out all right. You know, I can always find something that worked out okay, but the water did not. It looks like weird ribbons, and so I'll have to try that again, and that's great. And this one I'm not finished yet either. It's a couple lessons. So there's one where he teaches how to draw, like, I don't know, 50 different kinds of boats or whatever. And I like this idea of the figure eight, sort of like a halo over, and then over like clouds and whatever. And that one was how to make a wave, but I couldn't finish that yet because I don't have gouache. Gouache? I don't know how to pronounce that. So anyway, I had to wait on that. And then this one, it looks like I dropped a weird suitcase off of the bridge. He was halfway, like, I didn't want to do my rocks the same as his. I wanted like river stone sort of rocks. And then halfway through he's like, oh, this looks too man-made. We should stick a rock in there. And so I stuck a few extra of these kind of rocks, but this one didn't work out at all. And I was not very happy with that. But anyway, and that's James's deck dinner. There's quinoa and yams and cabbage and such things. And Homicide Hills Season 1 got top of the stack. Brokenwood Mysteries, Pursuit of Love, The Square, Jack Ryan Season 3, Ackley Bridge Series 1, I See You, Tulsa King Season 1, One Night in Miami, The Sense of an Ending, Injustice, Cat Daddies, and then Sibyl was last. And I don't know if I'll have time for James to actually come and enjoy this deck dinner while I'm sitting out here. But, oh, I should turn the camera more this way. But that's okay. Oh, and my bag fell down. I'm sitting on a bag because it's still really snowy. I did brush off the snow, as you can see off of things. But anyway, well, let's see. I still have a lot of work to do on that one. I'm painting the tarantula and stuff. And that will be great. So this one, top of the stack, and it's subtitles. And it's silly. I mean, it's a small town. She's detective, whatever, in, and yet people are dying all the time. They're murdered, you know. There's a lot of, so it's kind of silly that way. But the mysteries are good. You can actually sit down, and if you are paying attention, you can try to solve them. And they're not really easy. They're not really obvious, so not like Murder, She Wrote or something like that, right? So, so you feel pretty good about it if you solve it. What more do you want? The acting is decent, and stories are kind of funny, whatever. The Brokenwood Mysteries Series 9. I didn't expect this to rate so highly in the stack, honestly, but I mean, it was funny. There's one episode that's a musical, and the songs are so badly written, right? You're listening. That's the thing about musicals that really bother a lot of people, I think, because I mean, it goes way back. If you listen to operas, it's dreadful that way too, right? You're listening to some awful lyrics. Even if it's in another language, you could tell, oh, they're repeating the same thing over and over and over, you know, it's ridiculous, right? So it really, a lot of the time, the it doesn't do the music justice, and then it falls short, right? But and then with modern musicals, it's even worse because the music isn't even very good a lot of the time, right? You're lucky if you can get a catchy song out of it that's going to stick in your head, right? But anyway, and then you have the lyrics to deal with. But they're both bad in this one, and the play is bad, and the whatever, it's just awful, and so they're making fun of it, right? But at the end of that episode, they have, I don't know if you've watched this, but there's a kind of folky country musical artist who is sometimes featured, the music is sometimes featured in the show. And wow, she does an awesome job with an absolute crap song that they'd made for the musical, right? And it just goes to show you how, if you have a great musician, great tune and whatever, they can even pull off absolute crap songs. But it's best to have good songs to work with in the first place, and not try to... Anyway, yeah, the mysteries were all right, and I enjoyed watching it. I like mysteries. The Pursuit of Love. Now, by the cover, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a lesbian sort of show. Well, no, but it's 1920s, and at first when I read that, I'm like, oh, you know, because I hate the period sort of pieces. But, and then when they tried to pull in modern music into make it seem really current and relatable, at first I was like, is this going to work? It works. They pulled it off. I don't know how, but they did. So the story is interesting, and this, you know, this is not my cup of tea. If you've watched my show before, you know I don't like, especially Victorian stuff, but you know, 1920s, not so thrilled. So, wow, good job. The Square. I'm not a huge fan of Elizabeth Moss, but this actually wasn't bad. It was long, approximately 151 minutes. It's a long movie, and it's about art, and well, it's actually really interesting that way. They talk about witch hunting, basically, or a little bit, and some issues that, I mean, they didn't draw the lines for you. You will have to figure out what exactly they're talking about and stuff like that. And they did it in a way that they could get away with it without being banned or anything like that, I think. But you know what? It really raises some issues. What will the public tolerate in terms of aggression and stuff like that? So, worth watching. Jack Ryan Season 3. I have watched this before, and I'd forgotten that I had. And I put it on, and I was like, okay, I remember this, Oh, I don't remember that, right? Because this is what I'm doing while I'm watching TV a lot of the time, or writing poetry, or whatever. And as there's some things, as you see with my pictures, well, this was the lesson, so I'm watching the DVD to do this lesson, but then there's a lot of other things that I put into the thing that I'm watching just TV while I'm painting cats, or tarantulas, or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it was actually worth watching again. It's entertaining. They do a good job. I didn't expect Ackley Bridge Series 1 to rate this highly in the stack. This was the last one I watched out of all of these things, even after what I'd already watched once. Because I put it on, I'm like, ugh, and I took it off, right? And then I put it on again, and I'm like, oh, it's actually not bad. So, I mean, you have a bunch of teens acting, but they do a pretty good job. They're believable teens, And the story's actually pretty interesting for whatever. I see you. We don't see a lot of Helen Hunt anymore, but you do in this. Now, the movie is kind of creepy at the end. You're like, okay, so are we supposed to believe that this young bad guy is actually a good guy? I mean, he's not a good guy. So, and at the end, you're also thinking, okay, well, are they trying to say if something happened to you when you're young, then you're going to turn out really awful? So should we just wipe the slate of anybody who didn't have a good upbringing or whatever? I mean, honestly, I don't know what message they were trying to leave us with this. But they did a good job anyway. I mean, I guessed part of the mystery of the story, but I didn't guess it all. So, season 1, Tulsa King. I didn't expect Stallone to do anything worth watching, honestly. And I did watch, I think it was called The Italian Stallion, when I was a teenager. And that one wasn't worth watching either. But anyway, it's actually pretty entertaining. I mean, I don't like, again, with the message, I'm like, okay, so we're supposed to think he's a good mafia person? Like, really? Anyway, I guess shades of gray. One Night in Miami. I am not a huge fan of this sort of thing, but I'm a huge fan of Sam Cooke and Leslie Odom Jr. Wow, the pipes on him. So great job with the casting, finding somebody to do Sam Cooke, and pulled it off. A lot of the acting, though, wasn't great in this, but and again, at the end, you're like, this is from 2020, this isn't that long ago, and it's funny because I might save this for James to talk about a bit, because at the end they put up a thing about Malcolm X, and it's like he's saying that he's going to be a martyr for the cause or whatever, and it's like, okay, but you didn't let people know how he actually died. So interesting ending that way. Really misleading, honestly. And anyway, so whatever, but I didn't watch the second DVD in this. I just watched the movie, the first DVD, and I haven't read through the booklet, so whatever. The sense of ending, I didn't actually care for it. I mean, they did a good enough job, I guess, but, and I guess you're supposed to think, oh, well, be careful what you write or say to somebody, because it could really, really mess them up. But really, I don't know. And yeah, it's just, is this a sense of ending? Do you have a sense of ending when you watch when you get to the end of this movie? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think they really pulled it off. Injustice. This was terrible. You can't have a bad Superman. Come on now. One, the animation was not very good. They gave it an R rating, restricted, bloody violence. It's a cartoon. And honestly, it's really, I think they decided to give it an R rating to try to get more people watching it, because the animation's not that great, and I don't think they would have gotten people to watch it without that rating. So I think it's a bogus rating, honestly. Cat Daddies. This one, the only person that I really liked out of all of these Cat Daddies, well, I guess there's the fire hall people were fine. You know, they have a cat, whatever. But I really don't see that was a big deal. I guess they were supposed to not have a cat or whatever. Who cares? I mean, firemen used to have Dalmatians. We think, whatever. But the only person that besides the fire hall people that were fine, that I actually liked at all was the trucker guy. He was a really nice guy, taking his cat around, and his lady friend is dressing the cat up and whatever. They're just a cute couple. And I also like the guy who had the cat who would stick his arms up. That's so funny. He was giving it coconut oil for treats, and I guess he liked it, right? And so he'd stick his arms up again and he'd get the treat. So great. But honestly, there's the one guy that he's saying, well, I'm an actor, and I won't get the roles unless I have so many followers on Instagram or whatever, right? And so he does his cat videos, and I mean, people love watching cat videos apparently, so whatever. And there's the one guy who was a homeless guy, and I guess there's a lot of homeless people who have pets or whatever, but there's a lot of people that live in apartments or whatever, and they're not allowed to have pets, or they're renting or whatever, you know, and I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, I think that a lot of the time people use pets or children in a wrong way so they use them so that they can get things, and it bothers me, honestly. But whatever. Anyway, that's me. I think everyone should be able to have a pet, because I think they're really important to have somebody to care for. It's important to have somebody to love. So Sibyl, bottom of the stack. This was just terrible. So I have a subtitles movie on the top of the stack this time and one on the bottom. And like I've said before, if I'm gonna have to sit and read subtitles, it better be worth it. So this one wasn't. I mean, I have a lot of things that I want to do in my life. So sitting through watching somebody else's art and having to give 100% of my time to it by reading subtitles, well, that's a lot to ask. That's a lot to ask of anyone. So this one didn't cut it. And that's all I really have to say right now. So thank you for tuning in. My toes are cold and I'm gonna go in.